Well, hello once again. It's Mike Jacobs at the Spiritually Awakened Man channel. Great to have you with me again for another video. This video is going to talk about kind of this interesting combination between personal development concepts and spiritual awakening concepts. I think in the big world of all these different things coming together on YouTube and different places that we are looking, Instagram and so forth, I think maybe there's some confusion at times until you really get into it and understand the difference. So I thought I would just touch on it briefly about like how to put them into the right context. Now, as all of you know, this channel is designed for people just getting into their spiritual awakening as they're hitting some new concepts and would like to be, kind of hitting the right concepts, getting my perspective on how I view some of these concepts and their importance of understanding and how I, fit them into the overall puzzle. There can be a lot thrown at you when you start to go down this path. And I'm just here to help you get to the right issues quickly and put them in the right context so you can advance as fast as you'd like to. So personal development, these are concepts that we are all familiar with in some form or fashion, I think. There's some big names out there that have been personal development gurus for a long time. Back in my 20s, got exposed to personal development books and things like that. Things like Think and Grow Rich is probably one of the most popular books from, I think it was authored in the 30s back then, and it was about people and how they became very successful people. This author went around and he was paid by another I don't know if he had a billionaire back then, but it would be in today's world a multi-billionaire, paid to interview all the other people like him who've been successful in business and try and determine what the commonality was between all these different people and their levels of success versus people that had just been, very successful in their careers, but hadn't achieved the level of success that some of these other people had achieved. And then there's lots of different people that have gone on since then in the area of personal development. And personal development ends up being a very valid area of study for anyone trying to achieve goals. It lays out a very nice process for conditioning your mind to achieve these goals. How do you think? How do you program? It deals with getting into your subconscious and working with your subconscious, understanding how your subconscious works in the first place, so that you can set the right intentions and goals every night before you go to bed, when you wake up first thing in the morning, and how you need to think about doing something about your goals, meaning pursuing your goals a little bit every day, whether maybe it's an athletic goal. When you're younger, you tend to, be involved in setting some of these goals as you learn athletics in high school and grade school and so forth, or professional things later on. And there's a lot to it, but I wanted to sort of throw it out there and say, I believe some people maybe look at a spiritual awakening and the concepts around it before they get into it too deeply as just another personal development gimmick. And I think that personal development has become a little gimmicky over the years in certain ways. People really extrapolate in certain areas and call their quote recipe for success the newest and greatest thing. And so you can get wrapped up in a lot of the notoriety around these things and maybe look at spiritual awakening as just another one of those things. So that's what we're dealing with in this video, is this interaction between the two. Now, the way I like to look at it is that personal development is a serious area of exposure with serious value to everybody. I think of it more of a kind of a recipe, things that you do every day to keep a goal in mind, think about it all the time, focus on it, and you get lots of results. And it's one piece. But I believe that if you start to see results in a personal development program that you've gone down the path with yourself and you've seen the success, and I believe that everybody has seen success in this area in their lifetime. If you go back and you really think through your childhood as you grew up and went through your younger years, you've achieved a lot of the goals this way that you've achieved. You just didn't realize you were following a process. Or maybe you ran into some really great authors and focused on their books and you followed their programs and got value out of them. But I think if you really take this seriously and you start to really think about why you achieved, the goals that you achieved using these processes, that you'll start asking deeper questions. Why did it work? Why does it work? What's really going on here? Is there more to it? I think it's what's really opening the door to spiritual awakening concepts that you can put into context because you've seen some great success come out of these other programs, and they're not unrelated. The way I like to think about it is spirituality and the awakening to your spirituality is being exposed to a framework that's there, a framework in our world, in the cosmos, in the universe. And it deals with very esoteric concepts as well as very, very validatable scientific concepts, which is what really got me. Okay, all this esoteric stuff I think is very interesting. But how do you try and put some context to it that has some measurement and some science to it and some understanding that way to it all? And we can do that, and we have done that. Or I say we, the science, we other humans. Me being a human, I get to say we, but of course it wasn't me doing that, obviously. But the science is out there that validates an awful lot of this, and more and more and more of it is becoming available. But it's a spiritual framework that works in conjunction with the concepts of personal development so nicely together. So while you were doing personal development, you probably didn't realize that you were really leveraging spirituality at the same time. I'll give you an example. So in personal development, and this is just, kind of one area, is personal development is broad and there's many different aspects of it. But personal development is a lot about visualization. It's about setting a goal. It's about believing in that goal and focusing on that goal. I need to have that goal and making it a constant thing, almost an obsession in your mind. If you think about yourself as a little kid, maybe a goal was to be able to do something or have a certain type of a toy or something like that. You just became obsessed with it. Well, that's kind of what personal development goals are. You don't have to go crazy, but you're just obsessed, meaning you think about having that goal achieved a lot. You think about it when you go to bed at night. You think about it when you wake up in the middle of the night. Think about it when you wake up in the morning. And you think about that and you set those goals. And then you tie it to the actions you're going to take every day that are in support of reaching that goal. If it's an athletic goal, you need to structure workouts, right? And learn about that, read more. You're trying to read about maybe other athletes that are famous that were doing the thing that you're trying to do, and you learn from them. Or you're watching social media videos that are showing other athletes that you might admire doing these things, and you're programming yourself that it's possible. I remember when Tiger Woods came out. My background is in golf. My family's been in golf, so Tiger Woods was just a phenomenon, that came along, and he did things that people hadn't done ever in terms of the age that he did it, the number of tournaments he won, watching him play, watching some of the shots he hit, and having a golf background, being able to really not just watch the shots and be wowed by them, but realize, after having watched so many of the famous players growing up my whole life and reading about other famous players and seeing some of the really old black and white movies of some of these early players before all this video was available, I realized I was watching something amazing. The shots that this guy could make under pressure and what he did and all the tournaments he won. And what happened shortly thereafter was, he really paved the way for a lot of other young players to come along and achieve the same level of play. And then ultimately made the competition, basically what I'm trying to say is the competition rose up to the level of Tiger Woods, or more closely to him, because they believed that they could play that way and they could be that way because they watched all those videos of Tiger Woods doing it. And they went to bed at night as young people with it in their mind. They had the visualization of it happening. They saw the visualization of themselves doing it. And they started to program their subconscious that it was possible. And lo and behold, it was possible. And so it raised the level of play in everybody. They got better because of him. That's the visualization. That's the obsession with it. And you have to be obsessed to be a professional athlete at a world-class level. And I can understand this very well. My father was a world-class golfer. And so I saw this, and I saw it in all his friends that I got to know after he became successful. growing up around his colleagues, you would meet them, and you would learn about them as they were young men, and you would learn kind of how they did what they did, and how did they reach their success levels. What were the gating factors? So you put this all together, and you see it. This is personal development and achievement, personal growth, and it's not just for athletes. Obviously, it's personal growth in anything. Maybe it's just, in your profession, it's a very cerebral profession, or, maybe it's teaching, maybe it's, any of the major professions out there where it requires a lot of goal setting to achieve, the level of success you want to. Okay, I'm kind of rambling on about this, but that's personal development. But what you don't realize is that there's some other things at play that tie into the spiritual world. To do this, the spiritual world has set our bodies up and our minds and the energy around us up to be able to achieve those things too. Maybe the personal development side, or I kind of look at it as it's the steps you go through on a continuous basis and a repetitive basis. Program yourself to be able to do these things. But what you don't realize when you're doing that is you're really engaging spiritual concepts. Let me give you an example. Okay. When you are setting your mind to something, you want something in your reality. Spirituality and the concepts of that framework will tell you that, or they'll teach you that in order to have something that you don't have in your life yet, you start the process by visualizing from an emotional perspective, visualizing and feeling. This is what I'm getting at, is the feeling and the emotion of achieving that goal. You start to focus on that in an obsessive way. And I don't mean, again, I'm not like over the top obsessive, just continually. When you go to sleep at night, when you wake up in the middle of the night, you from a spiritual perspective, this concept is laid out like you feel the emotion of having achieved that goal, which you haven't achieved yet, but you feel that feeling of what it's like to have achieved that. What's your life like? What's the details of it? Just like a golfer is looking for the details in winning a major tournament, he is going through shot by shot, hole by hole in their head of every round. And after the round's over, after it's passed, they're going through every round in their mind. They're playing the hole perfectly, where maybe in the tournament they missed some shots or they didn't do it perfectly. They're replaying that round perfectly. They're putting it back in place and visualizing the emotion of the success of doing that. And then you extend gratitude for having that in your life, in your reality, which was your goal, even though you don't have it yet. That's more the spiritual side of it. And this works because we know from scientific experiments that have proven that the vibrational frequency of emotion can affect one's DNA. DNA drives everything in your body because your DNA is comprised of molecules. Molecules are comprised of atoms, and atoms are comprised of matter, like photons are a matter, for example. And we know that photons and other matter components are the building blocks of our reality in this third dimension that we live in. It's the substance. It's what we feel around us in everything. It's matter that creates that. And we have the ability through our thought process, our emotions, to change our reality around us through this process. And it dovetails very nicely into personal development concepts, because ultimately they are what they sprung out of and are making use of the framework of spirituality. Now, it goes much deeper on both sides, why these things work. But this is the combination that I like to think of and why it works and what we employ. And so spirituality is really something that's been around forever, not personal development concepts. Personal development concepts are leveraging the framework of spirituality. So I don't think I need to go any further in trying to make this point, that as you try to figure out why personal development works, you'll end up on the spirituality side of things, and you'll go deeper into the concepts, into why they really work. What's the underpinnings to the whole thing? Anyway, I hope that helps dispel any confusion. Neither one is a gimmick, not even close. They're real, although I believe there's probably some people out there that have some gimmicky solutions that play off of both of these concepts. At its core, in their essence, they are neither one gimmicks. They're like two sides of a zipper that in order to be strong as it can be, they work together hand in hand. As that zipper becomes extremely strong and you build on top of that first part of the zipper, as you zip it higher and higher and higher, it becomes stronger and more intertwined with each other. Just like, by the way, our DNA coil looks when you look at it as well. That's another way to look at it. Well, anyway, this has been great. If you get some value out of this, please like the video. Please subscribe if you think you'd like to get notifications of more videos coming out. And I really enjoyed doing this video for you today. In the meantime, be well and bye for now.